welcome to this week's edition of WCS Sports Connection. I'm your co-host, Jimmy Qualls, and with me, back by popular demand, the masses have spoken. Patrick Whitlock, Coach Whitlock, head coach of the Ravenwood Raptors, is back with me this week to talk basketball. Tate Matthews on assignment, and a lot of people are thankful that happened because when basketball rolls around, Tate seems to lag a little bit every now and then, as we like to joke. But Coach Whitlock, great insight on the girls and boys programs here in the WCS Sports Conference. Let's start on the girls' side. Coach Whitlock, first and foremost, I hope you had a great holiday break. It's 2019. It's hard to believe. How many years is this for you coaching?
It was 13, so hard to believe it goes by that quick.
13 years. How many years in WCS?
Well, 17 years coaching, 13 in WCS.
Gotcha. So. And it's hard to believe. Here it is. It's Christmas or past Christmas, the holiday break. Kids are back in school. You know, that we always like to say there's three parts of the season. There's the preseason before Christmas, then there's after Christmas, and there's the district tournament. Now, so right now we're right in that middle. What are we looking for from a coaching perspective? What are you looking for from your team at this point in time in the year?
Well, it's an excellent opportunity to get your full playbook in. You know, you get a little bit more practice time. You're able to get your kids away from the game for a little while, so you can potentially avoid burnout. But with district play starting so early in December, you know, it's really your only opportunity to kind of fine-tune your playbook and your strategy going into the second half of the district season.
Well, you look at all these teams, and we're going to talk about them today, a lot of the holiday break action that took place, the Christmas tournaments, the classics, all those things, in town, in state, out of state, long ways away. You've had success with it. There's two kind of schools of thoughts on this. Some people do not like to do this, do a lot over the break. You know, come in, practice, get some shots up. We'll just bide our time until district tournament, until district play begins or resumes after the break. Then there's those guys that are playing really well and want to go out and continue playing well. You know, sometimes if you're not playing as well over the break, it can have an adverse effect going into that second part of the season.
Absolutely. You know, playing in these tournaments, first of all, is, you know, if you go away and travel, it's an excellent opportunity to give your kids that experience that only a handful of kids will get, you know, going to the college level. It's also, you know, a good time to, you know, just continue to give your kids a break, work on what you need to get better at, and really get ready for that stretch run. So every coach approaches it differently, and, you know, we've all been doing this a long time, so we've all got our formulas that we hope will lead to success.
Hope so, and most people go in there hoping and not even thinking about wishing for injury-free tournaments at that, too, because there's nothing worse than losing a particular player over that break on I hate to use the word not meaningful, but every game's meaningful, but not as meaningful as, obviously, district play, and you'll need those guys down the stretch. But Brentwood Lady Bruins, 11-5, 4-2 in 11 AAA, playing Independence this week, 3-12, 1-4 in play. You got to talk about Osgood. You got to talk about the Trussell twins. Coach Miles Thrash has done a really, really good job. Now, interesting thing is, Lady Bruins won 9 straight games. They've lost 4 of the last 6. That goes back to my old school conservative thought process about that Christmas tournament break action. They lost a couple games over that. They played in a tournament this past weekend down in Alabama, but they've lost 4 of the last 6. So what does Miles Thrash have to do to get back on top?
Well, you know, going into this week, just fine-tuning, you know, what they're doing, but also excellent opportunity with some winnable games this week for them to jump up in that upper echelon of the 11 AAA standings. So, you know, really when you're going into Christmas break and you're struggling and you step back into district play, you know, typically the message is we got to put that in the rearview mirror and focus on what's important. So it's kind of a rejuvenated mindset for the Lady Bruins as they move into this week.
The Independence Lady Eagles, you know, it's not a game they should overlook. You look at the records, 3-12, 1-4 in district play. A lot of people say, well, this is a great bounce-back game for them. They can get back in that winning column. Well, don't overlook the Lady Eagles. They've been right there. Coach Whitney Barrett has done a really good job of keeping the Lady Eagles in those games. They just haven't won those games. And if you keep long enough hanging around, you know, on any given night, you could hit that shot.
Absolutely. And when you're the underdog, the longer you can stay in that game, the more pressure you put on the favorite. And they've been very competitive throughout the season. Their record a little bit deceiving at this point. They're going to sneak up and get somebody, so Brentwood will have to play some of their better basketball to make sure it's not them.
The Lady Raptors of Ravenwood right now at 500, 7-7 overall, 3-4 in 11 AAA play. playing against Centennial, 2-9, 1-5. Coach Mariska Harris has really been shorthanded with some injuries and people being out, 2 or 3 starters, if I'm not mistaken. And you look at this, they've also kind of struggled in the scoring department, averaging around 40 points per game. I know that she would like to get that point total up.
Absolutely. A team that was already short on depth in general with a preseason injury and now 3 additional starters out against Page last Friday. Not the team you want to have 3 starters out against. Page, obviously very strong. And they faced a pretty tough stretch. You know, they're having to play Brentwood and then Summit and then Page. That's the murderer's row almost of games back to back. Right. So, you know, I think they just try and put that back in perspective, try and get some bodies healthy, and look to get a win this Friday against Centennial.
Well, you know, since they beat, and a lot of people could call it upset being that it's shorthanded. Brentwood was playing so well at that time. Since they beat the Lady Bruins of Brentwood, they have lost 3 of their last 4 over the holiday break at their tournaments and this game coming back. Now, this is a good bounce back game. Centennial, the Lady Cougars, still trying to figure out what's going on with them. They're another really dangerous team. You know, you go back, Centennial Lady Cougars, and we'll talk about Nolensville in just a minute, beat Nolensville not too long ago, right before the Christmas break. And if you look at and compare records, you would think on paper there's no way they could beat them, but they did. And you know, they're a very deadly team, hangs around in those games, trying to figure these things out. This will be, I'm going to predict, this will be a very low-scoring game right now just because of the fact the way Ravenwood's played and struggle scoring. Centennial also has a hard time scoring. But those Lady Cougars are athletic and can be very dangerous.
Absolutely. And anytime you've got a grinder game like this, it's going to be probably in the 30s or 40s. It can go either way. And like you said earlier, Centennial owns one of the best wins of the season over Nolensville, who, you know, you can make an argument they're the best team in Williamson County, regardless of classification.
I don't disagree. Summit, the Lady Spartans, 8-4, 5-1. Here is another really good team. Don't let that overall record deceive you. 5-1 in 11 AAA play, playing against Dixon County. 12-3, 5-1. A great team. Dixon County's kind of been the standard the last 2 or 3 years. We have been trying to knock them off that #1 pedestal. Right now, Page is sitting in first 11 AAA, but you have Summit, Dixon, and Brentwood right there on the heels. Dixon and Summit both 5-1. This game is for second place. Could be potentially for first if Page happens to slip up and lose this week. Don't think that's going to happen, but Dixon, really good. Marley Anderson for the Lady Spartans came in this week against a Franklin team on last Friday night. Buries a jumper literally at the buzzer. Ball goes through the hoop. Yeah, the red light goes off. The Lady Spartans still won at Franklin. That's not easy to do, and that's going to be pay. I think that'll pay heavy dividends on the back end if it happens to be a head-to-head coin toss at some point in time on these getting ready for seeding.
Yeah, sneaking one of these games against the top teams in the league is a big deal. You cannot understate the job that Coach Goodwin has done this year at Summit, a team that was picked near the bottom on preseason. This is really a chance for them on Friday to prove that they are one of the top 3 teams and really shake things up. Despite the fact that they have one of the better records now, I think there's probably some people out there that maybe have a little bit of doubt in their mind, but after seeing them play, I think they can definitely compete.
They looked really good this past Friday night against the Franklin team. Colson, another great player, post for Coach Goodwin there. She is a really good player in the WCS Sports Conference. Franklin, the Lady Rebels, 500, 8-8 overall, 3-3 in 11 AAA, playing at Spring Hill, who's 1-10, 0-6. Let's talk about the Lady Rebels. Coach John Wild, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to make a prediction. They're hanging around that middle game. Middle of the pack, 11 AAA. You do not want to be in that, the 5-6 game or the 4-5 game?
Yeah, the 4-5 game is.
You don't want to be in that game at all, right?
No, I mean, definitely not.
And Franklin's shaping up to be that 5th seed. You do not want to host them, and I'll tell you why. They got 2 Lady Rebels that are freshmen that are playing really good right now in Bergen Ali and Sydney Ryan. Sydney Ryan's averaging close to 20, a really good player. Of course, Jillian King's been out on injury protocol for the last 2 or 3 games. So, you know, I feel comfortable that I would like to have seen a full-strength Franklin team against that Summit squad to see what would have happened. But needless to say, you don't want to be in that 4 or 5 game because, Coach John Wild, his track record, they're hanging around. Even though they're shorthanded, they're going to be a tough out.
Absolutely, and getting King back is going to be pretty significant for them. She runs the team very well, very good outside shooter, can create. And, how upset would you be to be in the 4 spot, looking at that 5 spot, having John Wild's team come to your place the first night of district play?
Not good at all.
No.
Now, they have a tough stretch ahead of them the next 2 weeks. You're looking at Brentwood, Ravenwood, and Page right there. Now, they can really make some noise. They could muddy this thing up as bad as they want to. If they could get 2 of those 3, if they happen to get all 3, you're talking about jumping up to, they're looking at being at 6-3 overall. Now you're dropping Page down another loss, all those people. I mean, what's going to happen between here and there? They could really muddy the waters up into these next 2 weeks with those opponents that they have coming. Don't see anything happening as far as them playing at Spring Hill. We'll knock on wood for them. I'm superstitious, but obviously Spring Hill has a win, which is over a Culleoka team, a single A Culleoka team. So Spring Hill just really outmatched in every game they play in 11 AAA.
Yeah, they're really in a tough spot. Not a lot of depth, not a lot of energy within the program right now. So Franklin should be able to take care of business and get out of there unscathed.
Page, Lady Patriots, 15-3. The first girls team to 15 wins in the WCS Sports Conference is 6-1 in 11 AAA. They're off Friday night. They will play Saturday at Overton in non-district play. Overton's 3-8 and 2-0 in their district. Faith Wilkin was the MVP. She is a great player. If you have not seen these Lady Patriots play, they are something to watch. They have put up points. They're in the 70s quite frequently. In the mid-60s, pretty much is what they're averaging. Faith Wilkin was the MVP of the Jim Clark Christmas tournament down in Orlando, Florida, which is where they played. They won that tournament, went 3-0. They've won 7 in a row.
They're very impressive. Obviously got to see them firsthand last Friday night as they put it on Ravenwood pretty good. Anytime you have a team with the ability to shoot the ball like they do, you're going to be in business. Coach Brock stepping away from his patented high-low offense now to the dribble drive. It's been a pretty good move for them. And, I would be shocked if they end up not winning the district. So I'm sure Coach Brock appreciates us putting the target on his back right now.
I guarantee it. Now, you talk about that for those that don't know at home, that the high-low tends to be a more of a slower offense. When he's got these guards that are quick, like the Wilkins sisters and other people, it's best to spread the floor, let the athleticism take over, try to get a piece of the paint if they can to look for kick. If they don't get any help, to finish the basket.
Yeah, you just can't help off too deep. And when they get penetration, get in the lane, jump stop, kick out, they're able to knock down the 3. They have a lot of weapons, and they can really score, as we saw earlier in their game against Dixon County on the road, where they scored 75 points, 77 points, which is a really impressive amount, especially Dixon County playing in the airplane hangar.
That's right. That's right. And you were talking about the Ravenwood game where they won by 48 points. That's not a lot of times that Mariska Harris's team have lost like that.
That probably has never happened and probably will never happen again. Kind of the perfect storm, having 3 starters out, right, and really Ravenwood unable to score the ball, and Page having a really good shooting night, but Page was clearly the better team.
Nolensville, 11-4, will be playing Forest, 11-5. Up until this point, when this airs, neither one have played any district games or that we could report on. So they're looking for their first 12 AA win. We look at Forest record; they're 11-5 overall. Everybody looks at the paper; it matches up pretty good. This ought to be a good game, but their wins: Hickman County, Summertown, Lewis, Cascade, Cane Ridge, BGA. I'm not going to take away from Forest record, but you start looking at Nolensville, their strength of schedule, who they have played, who they have won. They won the Middle Tennessee Invitational Tournament, the MTIT, at Franklin this year. It was brought back after a 20-year hiatus, maybe not that long, 15-year hiatus, however long it's been gone. Old tournament dates back to the 50s. They won it. They beat Franklin. They also beat their arch nemesis, East Nashville, who is a perennial powerhouse in 10 AA that goes to the state tournament quite frequently.
Yeah, that makes for some fun holiday basketball, and it's interesting how that stuff plays out because they most likely will see each other again, and it's interesting to see how that game over Christmas will translate into how the game is played in March.
Absolutely. Now, once again, don't want to take away from Forest victories, but let's look at, once again, Hickman, Summertown, Lewis, Cascade, good wins. Cane Ridge, that was a really good win. Let's look at Nolensville's wins. Summit, Franklin, Cane Ridge, Brentwood by 18, East Nashville.
Yeah, Nolensville would be challenging for the top of 11 AAA. if they were in that in that classification. So, they've got a lot going for them now. Their district probably, not overly strong. I think the challenge for Coach Ladd will be navigating through that district schedule and then having to step it up a notch when they get into region play.
Get in region play, get 2 wins, get themselves in a sub-state game, hopefully get 3 wins to host. And
makes all the difference
makes
right
all
there.
the difference in the world. And I don't know what it's going to look like past East Nashville. That particular metro district on girls basketball has not been really, really strong. East Nashville has pretty much run through that. So whoever that second, third place team is, I feel very comfortable that Knowlesville can get the win. But you got to get that win.
Yeah, you don't want to slip up and have to go to East Nashville.
And I'm going to be honest with you, I hate to look forward and I hate to jinx and we'll knock on wood again. I don't see any potential pitfalls. I really don't. You look at their district, and then you look at the sister district of Hickman County. East Hickman's a really good team, got a good record. But I don't think any of these teams combined play the strength of schedule that Knowlesville does.
No, not even close.
And
they schedule big.
Grace Beard averaging 14, Zoe Pillar averaging 15, Parker Leftwich 10. He's got 3 players in triple digits and another couple knocking on the door, double digits, pardon me, and a couple knocking on the door. So Coach Ladd's team's playing really, really well, the Lady Knights at Nolensville. Fairview, 5-11, 3-2 in District 11 AA. They're at Stewart County, 8-7, 3-2, and play for the Lady Rebels there at Stewart County. Do want to say this: Fairview above 500 in district play. That's all they need to focus on. They need to focus on those district wins. There are plenty of district wins in there with that team. It's a large district. I think there's 10 teams in there. Lots of wins to be had between all those teams. But the top upper echelon of those teams, you've got the Lewis counties and the East Hickman, who's sitting in first. They've got a win over East Hickman. They beat East Hickman last Friday, 47-43. That's the biggest win for the Lady Jackets in my 5 years here. They need to continue off that, springboard that, and try to get themselves in position to maybe be in those top 4 teams, top 5 teams to host that first round district tournament.
Yeah, and everything going forward for Fairview is going to be trying to get opposite of Nolensville in that region tournament.
Absolutely.
Get that one
Got
win
to.
and try and get to that finals and get a better draw.
Well, they're tied with Stewart County right now for 4th place in 11 AA. So Stewart County's coming in winning 6 of the last 7. So if they could win this game, that would be another quality win for the Lady Jackets. 11 AAA girls standings right now. Page in first place, 6-1. Dixon second, 5-1. Summit third place, 5-1. 4th place Brentwood, 4-2. Franklin 3-3. 6th place Ravenwood, 3-4. 7th place Indy 1-5. 8th Centennial 1-5. Spring Hill 0-6 coming in 9th place. Now on the boys' side, let's talk basketball on the boys' side. Coach Whitlock, let's start with the Bruins. Coach Greg Shirley and his Brentwood Bruins, 13-4, 5-1. Currently ranked 5th, I think it is, maybe 6th, 5th or 6th in the mid-state polls right now. Hosting Independence, 5-11, 2-4. Indy is one of those teams you cannot overlook by any stretch of the imagination. Coach Doug Kyle, what he's done over there, you look back at the Centennial win that he got. Centennial had the Battle of Franklin that Friday night. They play on Tuesday night, slips up, they overlook them, boom, Independence wins. Once again, you cannot overlook. Brentwood has Franklin on Tuesday of next week. You don't want your Bruins looking ahead, trying to revenge that loss from early on Franklin and not worry about Independence.
Yeah, big week for Brentwood. Had struggled a little bit in the Father Ryan tournament, lost to Mount Juliet, which obviously is nothing to be ashamed of. Really, really good
Ranked
team.
number 2 in the mid-state.
Right. And then a loss to Red Bank. And Christmas tournaments are a little weird playing back-to-back. It's tough to be up for games emotionally. So they were off last Friday, had some chances to regroup. But Indy, definitely a team that is somewhat difficult to figure out. Has 2 really good wins over Centennial and then Dixon County, the 2 biggest matchup problems in the district are Centennial and Dixon County because of their perimeter speed and their ability to guard, and Indy has a win over both of them.
How about that?
Crazy.
And then if it comes to head-to-head, they're going to win a lot of head-to-head.
Yeah, and that's
tiebreakers.
That's
there.
what it's all about.
So you look at the Dixon County loss. People say, "Well, it's just Dixon." Well, Dixon was preseason picked to be 4th, if I'm not mistaken, right there
Correct.
in the mix in the top 4, which has never happened in the 5 years I've been here. The boys haven't finished that high. I think last year they may have been 5th, 6th, and this is a big win. And that Dixon team, we've always said 2 years ago, 2 years year or two, they're going to be pretty good. Last year, they're going to be really good, and they made some noise, got in the region tournament. This year is the year for Coach Tiger down there. You know, they're looking to be real good. But that win for Independent, 67-58. If you're not a head coach going into this Independence game, a little bit nervous, you ought to be.
Right, and they run a lot of guys at you. I think probably their game plan is going to be to put a lot of pressure on the Brentwood guards. Brentwood hasn't faced a lot of pressure this season, and that could be their Achilles heel. Brentwood, more of a half-court team, wanting to grind it out. Independence will run a lot of guys at you, run some run and jump. They play 9, 10, 11 guys. You know, it's a difficult style to play against. You turn over a few times, give up some easy buckets, things get interesting.
Yep. And, you know, if they're going to have to do that because, like you said, because of their size, that half-court offense, the size and the width of those guys from Brentwood will cause problems, matchup problems for Independence. So
not a lot of holes in that Brentwood defense. You know, sometimes Coach Shirley throws out the 2-3, which is very long, but they're a better man-to-man team than people would think because they get down, they move their feet, and they protect the rim very well.
Ben Mills is playing really good basketball for them on the backside, helping protect that hole. Harry Lackey, Jack Thurman, all those guys. I mean, just have a lot of size and length. Ravenwood 6-8, 3-4, playing Centennial 10-6, 4-2. Coach Whitlock, heartbreaker this past week on Friday night. Blaine Burrow of Page hit a late jumper to beat you guys 54-53. What are we doing? What's our thought processes right now of your team? You did go 2-1 in the Pensacola Catholic tournament over the holiday break, so. Yeah, I mean, is it something we just have to bounce back?
Yeah, you know, I feel like we've played a lot better. You know, after our game early or late in November against Martin Luther King, we didn't look very good. And since then, you know, we have won 5 of 8. And I feel a lot better about where we are going into the second half of the season. But Page, also a much better team than people give them credit for. The return of Mason Allen, unfortunately for us, on Friday night, who I think is probably one of the more underrated players in the district. Brady Andrews was back. Good outside shooter, had not played in a few previous games, and we just came up a little bit short. So we obviously have a huge challenge on our hands with Centennial, who I think is the most talented team in the district.
Well, you've got Trey Carlton, you've got Dusty Williams, you've got Isaiah Poore. Yeah. Really, really good team, lots of speed, well coached. Coach Froden took his group, the Cougars, to Centralia, Illinois, which is a prestigious tournament. Go 3-1 there. They're sitting at 10-6, 4-2 right now. This will be a good game to go.
Hopefully it will. You know, we will have to find ways to alleviate their pressure. Obviously, they've got a really good team. Did very well in Illinois. You know, watching film from that tournament, they're playing in an arena. Played one of the top
awesome
15 teams in the country.
You know what it reminds me of? Southeastern Missouri, SEMO, and OVC has a very miniature version of a Show Me Center from Cincinnati. That place looked like a slightly smaller version. That is how they're supposed to be built.
It looked very cool, probably a very fun experience for the Cougars going to that tournament. But, you know, very dangerous team and can cause a lot of problems with their perimeter speed.
Scariest team in the WCS Sports Conference for me right now on the boys' side. I do not, come late February, want to play the Summit Spartans. I'm just telling you, 4-7, 2-4. Not only that, wait till next year, people. Wait till the next couple of years. This team, you better get your licks in now. This young team looks awfully, awfully good. They played Franklin last Friday night. They lost 61-59, where they led the entire game until the last 60 seconds. A little diamond one on Reese Glover, kind of, you know, mixed it up a little bit to make the other 4 beat them. Well, they did, but it was one of those situations where it could have gone either way. Keaton Wade, freshman, 17 points. His brother Destin Wade, 6. Kanata Wirtz, 14 points. Excuse me. Dixon, 10-5, 4-2. Who do you think is going to win this matchup?
Well, you know, Summit has been competitive in every game they played, and I know Coach Goodwin isn't sitting here waiting till next year to be
we're not
to be a good team.
Ventures.
Right? That's not how he's wired.
That's not what I'm saying.
Not how he's wired for sure. You know, Summit being so young is just they're really doing some good things. Their record is really, really deceiving. They're very athletic. They can guard you on the perimeter. This is a really good matchup for them against Dixon County. But Dixon County is probably thinking the same thing because a little bit smaller teams, good perimeter defense. So, you know, this is a really big game. If you talk about Summit looking to kind of move into that, get closer to that 4 or 5 range, this is one they have to get if they're really serious about that. But they've been really consistent. I think it's probably one of Coach Goodwin's best coaching jobs. but no one would notice that based on their record.
I told him Friday night it's the hardest I've seen any of his teams play in the 5 years I've been here. Now, you got to go back to the John Carter days, Ty Carter, all that really good team. They went hard. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. It was a little easier for them to go hard just because their abilities.
Yeah.
This group flat gets after it. Their demeanor's great. Win, lose, or draw. It was steady. I was proud to see that.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of, coming off a disappointing season, quite frankly, I'm sure he'd be the first to tell you that.
Yeah.
Last year, kind of just cleaned some things up within the program. They've got renewed energy, and they're going to be tough. And we talked about philosophies over break earlier. Summit didn't play over break. He used that time to, improve his team, get his freshmen his young freshmen some practice time, and had a great game plan against Franklin. Everybody wants that tape now.
I'm just telling you, go watch the Spartans play. Franklin 11-5, 5-1 at Spring Hill 3-9, 0-6, 0-6 in district play. Not a lot to talk about here. Haynesworth had 24 in that game because they're playing at Diamond and 1 on Glover. Glover had 6. Spring Hill's lost 5 in a row. Thurman, great player, sophomore for Franklin, 13-12 in that game. I think this is a rebound game. They can go Diamond and 2. Box and 1, it doesn't matter. Glover's going to have his average in this game, if not more. His average is 27. It's dropped to 26 something now. This game, not a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah, defensively, when you play Franklin, you have to pick your poison and hope for the best. And Summit did that the other night, almost was able to pull it off. Quite frankly, Spring Hill doesn't have the personnel to do that, so I expect Franklin to get a pretty significant win.
Page 6-10, 3-4, 11 AAA. They're off out of district play on Friday. They play Saturday at Overton, who's 3-10, 1-0. Nolensville 500, 8-8, playing their first district games against Forest, who's 4-12. Feel pretty good about that. We could sound like a broken record, but it's exactly the same thing. You look at Coach Lambert's strength of schedule versus Forest. It's not even remotely close. I mean, that's by design. Everybody's thinking, well, they're 8-8. Well, if you look at the teams they've played, it's not an easy schedule now that they're getting a double-A play. Just watch those wins go up.
Yeah, absolutely. Marshall County, probably the only team that's going to challenge them in that district.
Last, but definitely not least, the first boys team to reach 15 wins, Fairview Yellow Jackets, 15-2, 4-1 in district play. They're playing Stewart County, who's 5-10, 1-4. Coach Trey McCoy and his group. You've got Mason McGowan out there that's playing really good basketball. Trent Turner averaging 18-20. You've got Cam Harris-Lusk running the point guard. And you got the three-point specialist, DJ Estes. They've got the recipe. They just got to keep on plugging away, get themselves. Now, here's the problem, Nolensville, Fairview. Somebody out of these two, if they match up, whoever wins that region,
Somebody's going on the road.
Man, and you don't want to go on the road. Pearl Cone, East Nashville, Stratford, who all three have beaten each other. I've said it here, 2 of those 3 are going to be really hard to beat.
Yeah, the Metro District in AA this year much better than the AAA District. We're probably on a collision course to see Fairview and Nolensville play in that championship game. Obviously, Marshall County will probably factor in some way.
As long as you got
but,
KJ on that
my money would be on Nolensville and Fairview.
Last but not least, 11 AAA boys standings. Franklin in first, Brentwood second, Dixon third, Centennial fourth, Page fifth, Ravenwood sixth, Summit seventh, Indy eighth, Spring Hill ninth. Coach Whitlock, thank you so much for joining us again. It's good stuff right here. We'll see you next time on WCS Sports Connection.